this season, it was something different. I felt like we knew the characters, who they were, kind of like their characteristics, what to expect from them. But what was that challenge like, or what was that work like, getting these characters to show up in a bigger and deeper way this season?
Yeah, I think so much of season one, I was a writer on season one too. I think so much of season one was really about, okay, here they are. You know, this is the new family. This is what they look like. This is what they sound like. How are they different from what you knew them to be? And season two, like you said, we're really able to just go deeper and like, okay, you met them. Now let's really get to know them and really look up and meet this ensemble because it's such a great cast.
It is.
You know, and they all have a story to tell. So really being able to, keep Will the focus, and obviously the family is definitely wanting to surround him and making sure that he's going to be okay as he navigates this new world, but also being able to tell their own stories and what's going on with them a little bit more in season two. So I'm really excited for everybody to go on the full journey of this ensemble in season two.
Yes, because it is a ride. Now, I'm sure as a writer yourself, you pull on a lot of stories from your own life. Now, was there ever a time you feel like you were trying to control or take the wheel and you ended up down more of a negative path than what you wanted?
Kind of like the Will character.
That's like Will trying to control. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, I would say I was raised in Detroit. I went to Detroit public schools. So, a very different environment coming from very much like Will. In season one, there was a moment where he just couldn't understand Carlton, where he was talking to Lisa and he was like, I just don't get why he doesn't feel like he fits in. Like, I grew up with all black family, all black church, all black neighborhood, all black school. And I feel like that was me, growing up in Detroit, that was my world, and then coming up in LA and then even going to college, I became one of the only. And so I think that story is so much a part of my life. And being able to sort of see Will figure that out, Will versus Carlton, two very different young men navigating two different spaces. So I love that story. It's very personal to me too.
Yes, but they become a dynamic duo. I'm loving them in season two. I'm loving what you guys
do. They do so much. People wanted to see them, being on the same page a little more. And, it was a slow burn in season one. And so being able to come back in season two and really start that friendship between them. And they won't always be on the same page, but at least starting that friendship and trying to be there for each other more.
And my last question for you is, even outside of Will, I see other characters kind of reshaping themselves, finding their identity. I mean, it's that period. They're all going to college or graduating high school. So what did you pull on for all of them? Because you see Carlton with him going through, getting off meds, not saying too much. We have Will, we have Hillary in the house. There's a lot of reshaping. So where did that come from?
Yeah. Well, a lot of it was really like just starting the conversation with where do we end them in season one? And what are those things that we don't want to let go of so easily in season two? And knowing that Carlton had anxiety, he was taking drugs in season one. But where does that come from? That's a kid who's trying to self-medicate. Something else is going on. And so not wanting to just sort of say, all right, panic attacks and anxiety are gone now, but no, it's still here, and sort of really wanting to be on that journey with him in an authentic way. And Hillary, knowing that she was wanting to start this influencer house and take more control of her own story, and sort of really just starting them where we left them, and just being on the journey to see where they go this season.
Oh, they're going places. Thank you so much for your time, Carla. Congratulations on season two.
Thank you. Nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you. So there's a lot of positive mentor and mentee relationships in this season, or I think overall in the series, but specifically in this season. How do you pull into, because it's so important for Black viewers to see those positive relationships, how did you go into dissecting that character development for each of those characters, like what you wanted to build between Phil and Will, or even Jeffrey and Will? Like there's so many difference, Don and Will.
Right.
How did you go about those things?
Absolutely. I mean, it's, really for us, it's like each one teach one, you know what I mean? And it's so important, particularly, for Black men to have those mentors, because, being a Black man in this country comes with a lot, And so to have someone there to give you guidance, to help you see your way through a lot of the obstacles that you're inherently going to deal with is really important. And so we wanted to, portray those relationships in a way that was authentic and true. And so it really comes down to, in the writer's room, let's all bring our stories into these characters and our experiences, to create the most authentic relationship on screen. And we feel like that's why viewers really connect with our shows, because these stories are coming from an honest place. If you see it on screen, whether it was a piece or like a whole thing like that likely happened in someone's life who's a part of this show. And you can feel it when it comes from a place of passion and honesty. So.
Yeah. And speaking of authenticity, I mean, without saying too much, I think the character, you could see Will's MO is very much getting in touch with his roots and staying authentic to the Philly in him. Have you ever had a situation which you pulled from that you can share with the viewers that was relatable to Will's?
Whew. Yes. I'm trying to think of one that comes to it's just so many, situations that I can think of. I grew up playing basketball and competing, and there were some things that I've seen, on the court with friends, some of the things with him and Trey, for example, from season 1, really hit close to home and are based on some experiences in my life. And so quite a few things, his fish out of water story. I'm not from LA, I live in LA now, but I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. Big shout out to the 816. Go Chiefs. But so understanding what it means to live in the Midwest, live in a place that isn't in the bright lights, and there's no palm trees, there's no sunshine, and being landlocked and going to a completely different environment where people talk different, people dress different. It's just a big culture shock that you have to get used to. And so since day one, I've always seen a lot of my journey in Will, and I think it's relatable to a lot of young Black men in this country, who come from the Midwest or maybe the East Coast, and they're moving to a different place and have to be in a different environment. And what does it mean to code switch and have to do all of these sort of things just as like survival tactics, right? While maintaining your essence and maintaining the roots and staying true to who you are. It's quite a labyrinth, you know what I mean? And so yeah.
Yeah, that was a great response. And my last question for you is, I felt like this season had a lot of analogies, whether it's like, be careful of the company you keep, let Jesus take the wheel. There's so many. I was like eating them up this season. Yeah. What would you tell to someone who feels like they need to take the wheel, but it may tear them down like the wrong path, or wanting to just have so much control? Because I'm that person. I've been learning that myself the past couple of years, to just let it flow.
Yes. No, it's such a good thought and a good notion. And it's true. Those are themes that we explore, of knowing, like you said, when to drive and when to steer and when to say it's time to go, and when to fall back and maybe not do something. Right. And, by not taking an action is an action in itself. And I think remembering that when you can take a beat to say, to stand back and let something play out, and not necessarily being driven by emotion, and allowing, logic to kind of take over. And, Will's a young guy, Will is 17 years old, and, he brings so much swagger and energy to this new world. But at the same time, you can only force things so much. Eventually, you're going to have to sit back and take a beat and let things play out, and be willing to, to listen and have an open mind. And so those are all things that we explore with these characters. And, the thing I love most about our show is that all of our characters are incredibly ambitious. They all have, you know what I mean? Like
they all have a strong story and a personality. And you see all of them being shaped in some way of like letting go of the control, whether it be Hillary, Ashley, like they're all, it's right there in season 2.
That's exactly it. Yeah, that I couldn't have said it better myself. But with that, to your point, it's like they're going to learn a lot in that process of when to ask for help. You know what I mean? Which, it can be tough sometimes on our egos, because you're driven, and we have a lot of leaders in their own individual worlds in our show. And so they want so badly to do these things, just like, take a step back, be willing to listen, be willing to change. And it's a beautiful winding road that we take viewers down in season 2. And I can't wait for people to see it. So
me too. Congratulations. And I'm so glad we got to chat. Thank you so much.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
So I feel like Will's entire MO this season is to take control, find his own individuality, and pull those Philly roots out for Bel-Air to see. Now, have you, Jabari, ever been in a situation or circumstance like that where you felt like you really had to bring out who Jabari is, or maybe you felt like you were losing yourself?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's kind of my everyday. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I feel like a lot of the times people have ideas of who you are, right? Or they want to like paint you in this certain light, or they're painting a certain picture of you in their head, right? And sometimes you got to show them like, no, this is me, like, you know what I mean? And show up authentically. And so I'm never afraid to do that in every space. You know what I mean? I feel like that is my superpower. That is my strength. And that's my testimony. So I can show other people that you can do the same, you know?
Yeah. And speaking of authenticity, I feel like there was a lot of authentic mentor-mentee relationships in this season, really a lot of vulnerability. And I think that's positive for our viewers to see Black men in those lights. Yeah. How do you guys outside and offset take that emotional bonding time to pour back on set for moments like that?
Yeah. I mean, like Morgan Cooper always says, like if you want to tell the story of a family, you have to build a family, right? And so like I feel like we have cultivated this community and this family, you know, and we're able to really like just pour ourselves out to other people as individuals, not as actors, you know what I mean, as artists and just as people, like to really sit down and have those talks. Like that really informs a lot of what happens on screen. And I feel like that gives us the freedom to be vulnerable in front of each other, right?
Yeah, it was beautiful to see.
Yeah, and we give each other the time, you know what I mean, in the space, right? So like, I think that's great, and I think it, you know, it really starts with, you know, for me, it starts with Morgan Cooper and like him being that person for me. Like he was just so open and so honest, and like it was like whatever you need, if you need anything, chop it up with me, call me at 3 a.m. And I definitely did that. I did that for sure.
Because he kept the door open for you, and I love that. So my last question for you is, there was a lot of similarities in Phil and Will, but at the same time, you tend to look at Don more. And I always say the analogy was screaming at me in season 2, be careful of the company you keep. So why do you think that there was such an attraction to Don over Uncle Phil?
Yeah, Doc. I'm just going to
Doc, sorry.
No, but I think Doc kind of Will speaks his language a little more. Right? Like, I feel like Phil is that authority figure for Will that's like, and Will has a problem with authority, right? And so like, he is searching for a father figure, but he also wants to be around someone who like lets him be himself. You know what I mean?
Lets him be that man.
Yeah, exactly. Lets him be that guy. And Doc allows him to do that. And he wants to see more of that. He wants to bring that out of him. And Will loves that. And so like, that's why Will trusts him, but he's also looking for a father figure. Like there's also that, you know, that trauma of his father, right? Like not being there and that experience that he had in season 1, the last episode. And so like, he's looking to trust someone, right? Like he's just on the search. And I think Doc can do a lot for Will. And I think that he feels like he found that father figure in him.
I'm scared. I'm done already, guys, but I'm just wrapping up. Season 2 is amazing. I loved you and Carlton's bond. I can't wait for them to see it. And congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So each of you in season 2 are developing, growing, reshaping yourselves. Now, has there ever been a point, I mean, Coco, right now you're in it for real, but outside of being in Bel-Air, there's a point in your life. Have you ever gone through a change, a big change?
I mean, yes, of course. I mean, talking for me, I'm at this age, so I've been through many changes. I mean, life is, you know, I love my grandfather when he was like 93. I said, what's the best thing about being 93? It's like no more surprises because, you know, being in your 20s and your 30s, it's like the trenches. It's like everything is constantly changing. Like, who am I? Who am I supposed to be with? Should I be with anybody? And, you know, right now I'm at this age of 43 and, you know, I'm just living in a space of thankfulness. So, of course, lots of changes. And right now I'm living in the place of gratitude and grace for myself and others.
Well, you know, I'm only 16, so I'm still going through these changes, but I'm in high school. So I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm in the middle of these changes. I feel like once I graduate, it'll be like something big, you know. I can't really say a lot. Like,
oh yeah, it'll be big. Then you'll get the new changes with the early 20s hit you. Oh Lord.
And me, of course,
my life has changed dramatically since getting Hillary, since dropping music, since my EP went #1.
Yes.
That's
my EP. Okay. It's on repeat. For real, for real.
Thank you. Thank you, Dante. No, it's hard to describe. I mean, I'm living in my dreams. I'm trying to stay present, but I'm also very competitive and I want to like continue to do more. Now that I've seen so many of my goals like come to fruition, I'm like, okay, let me think higher, think bigger. Let me work harder. I want these things. I believe I can have these things as I'm seeing more of my goals materialize. It just inspires me to dream bigger. It's been amazing. I'm super grateful.
And we see in this season that Will's MO is to take control. He's not letting Jesus take the wheel at all. So has there ever been a time in your life where you took the wheel from Jesus' hand and may have took you down the wrong avenue?
Oh, but it took you down the wrong avenue. Absolutely. I think there was a time where I was like, you know what, Christ, you're just not getting it. I was like, I got this. So I was very much more of like strategic. And I thought I was making these power plays. And I was saying yes to opportunities, just knowing that I was going to regret it because it wasn't authentic to me. Writing about things I didn't believe were really my truth, trying to just be marketable. And at the end of the day, it just took me longer to get to the real, you know, because I was just pretending.
Say, give me those keys. Say, give me my keys back. Let me take show you where you need to go.
I'll get in the passenger side of my best friend's back and holler at me.
And there were a lot of beautiful mentor to mentee relationships this season that I love to see that were unfolding. And I think that that's such a great positive view for our audience to see. Now, I wanted to ask you guys, how do you bond offset in order for you guys to have such a family bond on set?
I mean, I feel like it just came naturally. Like since the first day, we've all been super close. Like each day we go by, the closer we get. Like on and off set, we're with each other like 24/7.
I feel like also, you know, to be in something, this type of IP, this franchise is so iconic. I think we all just felt like, you know, to be in a whirlwind, you just want to hold each other close. And so from the very first day, I remember coming on set, like Jabari ran over and he was like, I'm Viv, and almost fell over. Like, it's funny, our dynamics were so similar to the show because there's so much mutual respect. And I really think it's because of Morgan Cooper. He says it all the time. He was like, they wanted to find great actors, but they wanted to find great human beings as well. And so the vibes on the set are just that. They're elevated, good, fun, family vibes where people happen to be great artists, tremendous artists.
Yes. And my last question for you ladies before we wrap is, why do you feel that although Will has Uncle Phil around, he tends to lean more towards Doc? I think like there's so much relatability between Will and Uncle Phil in some ways, but they just don't see it in each other. So you as characters watching it all unfold, why do you think that is?
Well, I think obviously Will's from, you know, West Philadelphia, and Doc has that feeling like he's from like the urban part of California. And, you know, he's doing that thing that people do, which is they want to go back to the thing that feels familiar. Really, Uncle Phil and they have like a resonance that's similar, but really Uncle Phil is aspirational, Will, in the future. That's the king version of him. He's still playing out here as a court jester, trying to just become a prince. He's not even officially a prince yet. So it makes sense he goes after Doc, because Doc ain't out here doing things on the up and up either, as time will reveal. So, you know, he's got to calibrate his inner energy to figure out, like, what does it mean to be a king? I always say this show feels like a Basquiat dream of a kid trying to reach for his crown. And on the journey of that, it is very much like mercurial. It's like you're in water trying to find things. So, you know, if you're blind, you can't see everything. You got to feel it out. So he goes in the wrong direction, but we know God's going to help him and elevate him to that throne. Okay, we know what happens.
Yes, preach. I love it. I like that response. That's all I needed. I am such a big fan of this show. And Coco, I love your music, girl. I was just on MTV News saying that you're next for a Grammy, okay? And I just want to say, congratulations.
Speak it. We gonna meet up with you.
Yeah, I've spoken to existence. They asked me who I think is next up, and I said me. I think it's Coco. So I can't wait to see it. Have a great one, ladies.
Bye. Thank you.
So this season, I absolutely love the mentor and mentee relationships. I think I saw that much more heavier in this season. So was there anyone in your life who was a mentor to you that you could take those lessons and pour into your character, especially for Jeffrey and Uncle Phil?
Oh yeah, for me, definitely. I had this youth worker called Paul Leslie. And he has a lot of qualities that I feel are within Jeffrey, and he would educate us. He would teach us how to move on the streets, and even how we use our vocabulary. Do you know what I mean? When we was all trying to be like street kids, but the main thing for me that represented as a black mentor was that like words are powerful, language is powerful, and you know, with conflict and confrontation, it doesn't have to be blows. You know. Use your words. And so yeah. And I think, you know, even though Jeffrey's a misunderstood, you know, house manager, he's not used his fists at all. He just uses words.
And
I love Jeffrey's character.
Words and guns.
And enforcement. I like it.
He just shrugs his shoulders like, I don't think you should do that. And
the accent doesn't hurt either. Who's not going to listen? You know. I'm
all ears. How about for you?
For me, I would say it was a family member, my uncle, actually, my Uncle Hendy. He was like the Yoda in the family, so wise, you know, and we would all, you know, any issues that we would have, you know, we could call him, and he was just, he was able to guide us, you know, and keep us on track. Yeah, so I would say he was the one for me.
Morgan Cooper has very much been a really phenomenal mentor throughout this entire
Everyone is saying that, so I know that he is that guy.
He's a sage, you know what I mean? The amount of times that I will call this man at like 2 a.m. and be like, "What's up, young O?" I'm
Jabari
like,
said the same
awake.
thing.
You know, exactly. It's like you shouldn't be awake right now, but you know, he's so willing and ready to pour knowledge and love and care into us.
That's true.
And the amount of time, you know, he'll just send a random text of, "Hey, how's your spirit?
Yeah.
Hey, just letting you know.
Yeah.
I've been watching the dailies. You're doing a great job. You're doing great work." And that very much has, you know, it's helped me feel safe in taking risks with this character, because I think we all take a lot of risks on camera, and it pays off. But all of that starts from having, you know, a creator that's so willing to trust us with his work.
Yeah, when he shows up, it just, you get this feeling of just, okay, everything's gonna be good. You know, he's just seeing him behind the monitor, you know, is just it just gives you, he's empowering, you know, and
that warms my heart.
Yeah,
I like that.
We're lucky.
We're so lucky. The guy's a genius.
He really
is.
He's
a genius.
Clearly, because this season 2, even your characters, I feel like you guys are in the character this season. I ate it up. I loved it.
Oh, thank you.
Now, speaking of characters, now for Carlton, I want you to kind of help me with this. Do you feel like he is reconstructing himself to truly genuinely get in touch with his Black roots, or do you think it's to kind of like prove himself maybe in Will's eyes or to his other people around him? Like, I'm trying to understand that.
Well, I think that that's for the audience to decide. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I think it's a little bit of both, right? Because so much of what Carlton deals with is the perception of others and his perception of himself. And so at times, those two things can be at odds with each other. At times, those things are the same. But, you know, in trying to navigate that, he grows and he stumbles, and he really has to claw his way to the top on top of dealing with his struggles with mental health. So I love that question, because I think that is a discussion that, you know, fans watching are really going to have.
Yeah. And I also love your character. And I told Morgan Cooper, I'm really glad that they kept the whole mental health storyline still in there. It was very genuine and real. Great job on that. And we only have 3 minutes. So my last question for you here is, you saw that Will's MO was completely like not letting Jesus take the wheel. So was there ever a time in your personal life outside of the show that you feel like you completely took the wheel from Jesus, like, give me those keys, and then turned down the wrong avenue?
Turn down the wrong avenue.
Yeah.
Because we took control over Jesus.
Oh.
Yeah, you took that wheel out his hand. You said, give me those
Jesus
keys.
was like, I got this. And you're like, no.
I remember as a kid, this is the stupidest little thing ever. I remember as a kid, my dad brought home, a work laptop. And this was the first time work laptops were being issued. And he brought home one of those old IBMs, and I was obsessed with computers as a kid. So I remember being like, that's my computer. And he was like, don't go in there and touch it. Obviously, I went in there and I tried to pick it up, but it was so heavy and I dropped it and I broke it. And I got in a lot of trouble. I took the wheel and I dealt
right.
Yeah, that right.
I don't know. I don't know if this is the right answer to it, but I used to do events in London, party events, and we'd do once a month, and there'd be 200 people each month, all different actors from Ben Whishaw to James Corden, all different actors. And then there was a Christmas coming up, and we were like, we should do a Christmas one, and we should do it somewhere else, a bigger venue, more people. And I felt like that was us taking the wheel, and we did it. And only like 20, 30 people turned up. We lost a lot of money. And so that thing of like staying within the alignment, would have been, just don't do it. You've had a great run of year. You've made great money. You've created special moments for people. That's great. But when we tried to take it and be a little bit greedy and just try and do our own thing, it didn't work. But what I will say, when I tap back into that alignment, for me, Bel-Air and working with these actors represents letting God do his thing. Yeah. This is God's business here.
It's ordained. This is all ordained. We're lucky. It's a blessing.
It is a blessing.
Off the top of my head, I'm sure that
because Adrian's perfect.
Mr. Perfect.
Whoa. But I try to give him the wheel at all times, because he knows better than I do. But
preach.
I don't
preach it, Pastor.
Come on! Can I get a witness?
Preach it,
Amen. Well, thank you so much, guys, for your time. I love season 2. You guys are killing it, and I cannot wait to see what's next.
And thank you for always supporting us. You guys have been great from the get-go, so thank you for the love.
Of course. So you were such a positive force, so strong in this season. Was there someone in your life who made you feel or influenced you to be comfortable in your skin as a Black woman, to love who you are and what you bring to the table?
Oh my goodness. I've been very lucky in my life to have many people who've fed me in that way. My mother, my grandmother, who I lost this August, was definitely a driving force. I've had teachers, in college, throughout elementary school, who shared books with me, plays with me, introduced me to poets and poetry that have been so formative to my life, who I think I am, my place in the world, and also what I could possibly contribute. James Avery was one of those people.
Wow.
He gave me, every birthday he gave me a collectible Black baby doll. And that might not seem like that big a deal now, but in the 90s, you couldn't really go to a store and find that. But he made that, that was really important to him. And I have a whole collection that James gave me, including introducing me to Nikki Giovanni and Sonia Sanchez and Alice Walker and all these incredible Black women writers that, it would have taken grad school or college to finally have somebody teach me that work.
And I love that for you. So in terms of you being built up to be such a strong individual, I've seen that as well within the season, you trying to build people to be strong individuals. But I think also some of the form of the season is fighting to be your own individual, maybe leaving things behind that are so rooted to you, or maybe jumping back into them. So my question for you is, what advice would you give to someone who feels like they are trying to refine themselves or even sticking to their identity, but being met with better opportunities for themselves?
It's a lot. I don't even know if I've mastered that for myself.
I'll make it easier then.
I know, what advice? Look, the truth is that, you got to be in integrity with yourself. Mm-hmm. No matter what the world offers you, because the offers come and go, but you always have to start with inside. right? Because if inside is what it's supposed to be, do it, and you're living in integrity, if the outside and the inside are the same, then the world comes second and it actually falls into place. So when the world starts making you confused, you know, I'm a real big proponent. We talked about that in the car on the way here, of getting quiet.
Yes.
Looking inward and finding the truth, not even your truth, the truth, because it's in there.
Yeah,
it's in there.
my mom always says that. That's beautiful. And my last question for you is, we see a lot of people in this season trying to take control, take the wheel. Has there ever been a moment that you try to take the wheel and it may put you in a bad situation?
In my life that I tried to take the wheel? I think about that Bjork song where she's like, it's not up to you. No, it never really was. Like, anytime I try to take control, it usually goes in the wrong direction. I try to leave control to a higher power, and I just try to listen.
Love that.
That's something I have to constantly remind myself to stop doing.
Thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on coming to Bel-Air. It's a full circle moment. I just loved it. I love you. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.